The fog hung thick over the desolate waters, shrouding the ghost ship in an eerie stillness as it drifted silently, its tattered sails fluttering like the remnants of lost souls. Legends whispered of the vessel, a once mighty galleon that vanished decades ago, now cursed to roam the seas, forever seeking the lives it had claimed. On board, shadows flitted between the rotting timbers, their hollow eyes gazing into the darkness, waiting for the unwary to approach. One stormy night, a small fishing boat, caught off guard by the rising tempest, found itself drawn to the haunting silhouette. As the crew grappled with the howling wind and crashing waves, they spotted the ghostly outline of the ship, its lights flickering like dying stars. Despite the warnings of sailors who spoke of the ship's fate, curiosity compelled them closer, and as they boarded, the atmosphere shifted, thickening with an oppressive dread. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and the creaking of the hull echoed like the mournful cries of the damned. The fishermen called out to one another, but their voices were swallowed by the ship's chilling silence, the only response a whispering wind that seemed to carry the voices of the past. One by one they ventured deeper into the belly of the ship, compelled by an unseen force. As they explored the dimly lit corridors, the walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own, draped in cobwebs and memories long forgotten. Suddenly a figure emerged from the shadows, a gaunt spectre clad in tattered garb, its eyes voids of despair. It beckoned them closer, its voice a chilling echo of betrayal and sorrow, recounting tales of doomed voyages and sacrifices made in the name of greed. Panic set in as the fishermen realized they were not alone. The whispers grew louder, and the other crew members began to disappear, swallowed by the darkness that clung to the ship like a hungry beast. Frantically searching for a way out, they stumbled upon a cursed treasure chest, its lid adorned with symbols of a forgotten language. The whispers intensified, warning of the price that must be paid for the gold within. Ignoring the signs, one of the fishermen pried it open, unleashing a malevolent force that filled the air with a frigid chill, making their breath visible in the oppressive gloom. The ship trembled as if awakening from a long slumber, the spectres around them becoming more corporeal, their hollow faces twisted with anger and sorrow. As the realization set in that they were now part of the ship's tragic fate, the remaining crew rushed for the exit, but the corridors twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the ship's insatiable hunger for new souls. Each turn brought them face to face with the manifestations of their worst fears, apparitions that mirrored their past regrets and unconfessed sins. Time lost all meaning as they raced against the encroaching shadows, the air thick with despair, choking the light from their souls. As they reached the deck, the storm outside raged with a fury that matched their growing terror. The ghost ship began to transform, its once elegant structure now a twisted mockery of its former glory, adorned with the lost faces of those who had perished aboard. In a final desperate attempt, they called out to the ocean, begging for mercy, but the waters answered only with the roar of the storm, swallowing their cries. The ship creaked and groaned, tilting precariously as they fought to stay aboard, the apparitions reaching out with skeletal hands, pulling at their legs, whispering promises of eternal rest. Just as one last hope flickered in their hearts, the vessel plunged beneath the waves, dragging them into the depths where light could not reach. As the ocean closed over them, they understood the truth. They had become part of the ghost ship's tale, destined to haunt the waters, forever seeking the next soul to join their lamenting chorus, their cries echoing through the fog, warning others to stay away from the cursed ship that sailed the haunted sea. As the darkness enveloped them, the fishermen felt an unnatural cold seep into their bones, a chilling reminder of their new reality. They found themselves adrift in an endless abyss, surrounded by a swirling maelstrom of shadows. Faces flickered in and out of view, those of long-lost sailors who had succumbed to the ship's ghastly embrace. Their eyes were hollow, filled with the same despair that now gripped the fishermen's hearts. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of sorrow and regret that seemed to echo from every corner of the depths, drowning out all reason. Suddenly the scene shifted. They stood back on the ghost ship, but the air was thick with dread. The crew had multiplied, now a ghastly assembly of the ship's past victims, their faces twisted in eternal anguish. The spectre that had beckoned them earlier materialized again, now a towering figure draped in shadows, its voice a bone-chilling rasp. "You have awakened us," it intoned, the words dripping with malice. "Now you are ours." The fishermen tried to scream, but their voices were lost in the suffocating silence of the ship. The spectre gestured toward the treasure chest, now a pulsating mass of dark energy. "You sought riches, and riches you shall have," it whispered, the shadows swirling around it like hungry serpents. The chest opened wider, revealing gold coins that shimmered with an otherworldly light, but each coin seemed to hum with a sinister melody, drawing the fishermen closer against their will. One of them, driven by a desperate need to escape, lunged for the ship's edge, but the planks beneath his feet splintered, dragging him back into the shadows. He could feel the cold grip of the ocean creeping up his legs, pulling him down into the inky blackness. Panic surged through the remaining crew, their hearts pounding in a rhythm that echoed the ship's heartbeat, a sound that felt both alive and dead. They realized they were not merely trapped, they were becoming part of the ship itself, their souls entwined with its cursed fate. Desperation clawed at their minds, and they attempted to remember their lives, the loved ones they had left behind, the warmth of the sun on their skin. But with each memory they grasped at, it slipped away, replaced by dark visions of the ship's past, a mutiny, betrayal, and the insatiable greed that had led to its doom. As they fought against the pull of despair, the ship lurched violently, the walls groaning under the weight of their terror. The spectres surged closer, their skeletal fingers reaching out, brushing against the fisherman's skin, leaving trails of ice that stung like 1,000 needles. "Join us," they hissed in unison, their voices a chilling harmony. "Your souls will feed our hunger one by one." The fishermen succumbed to the dread, their wills breaking as they were pulled into the clutches of the shadows. But one among them, a young man with fierce determination, refused to give in. He felt a flicker of rebellion ignite within him, a spark of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. Gathering every ounce of strength, he sprinted toward the helm, where the ship's wheel lay abandoned, entwined in rotting vines. If he could take control, perhaps he could steer them back to the surface, break the curse. As he grasped the wheel, a sudden clarity washed over him. He could feel the heartbeat of the ship beneath his hands, the sorrowful whispers rising to a fever pitch. "I won't let you take us," he shouted into the storm, the words reverberating against the howling wind. The spectres recoiled, their forms flickering with uncertainty. The ship trembled beneath him, caught between two realms, the world of the living and the cursed. With a fierce determination, he willed the ship to rise, pouring every ounce of his essence into the command. The galleon shuddered violently, and the shadows shrieked in protest. For a moment he felt the tide of the sea shift, the weight of the ocean pressing against him, and then silence. The oppressive darkness began to recede, the ship's form warping and twisting as if it were caught in a violent whirlpool. As the ship broke through the surface, light flooded the deck, momentarily blinding the young man. The spectral figures screamed, their forms dissipating like mist in the morning sun. He blinked against the brilliance, finding himself alone on the deck, the storm quelled and the horizon stretching endlessly before him. But as he looked around, relief turned to horror. The ship was still there, but it was different now, more a memory than a vessel. The spectral crew lingered in the corners of his vision, their whispers now a soft lament, forever echoing the fate of the damned. He realized he had escaped, yet he was forever bound to the ghost ship's legacy, a guardian of its tragic tales, destined to warn others away from its cursed waters. As he steered toward the horizon, the fog began to thicken again, and the whispers of the lost would follow him, an eternal reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the next unwitting souls to lure into its embrace. As the young man sailed onward, he could feel the weight of the ship's history pressing down on him, the lost souls haunting his every thought. The horizon, once a beacon of hope, now felt like a treacherous line between worlds. He caught fleeting glimpses of the ghostly crew, their faces twisted in eternal anguish, their whispers a chilling chorus that gnawed at his sanity. Days turned into nights, and the sun began to fade, swallowed by an encroaching mist that crept in from the edges of the sea, thickening like the memories he struggled to escape. Every creak of the ship echoed with the sorrows of those who had perished aboard, a relentless reminder that he was now part of their tragic tale. As night fell, the atmosphere shifted. The moon hung low and sinister, casting an ethereal glow over the water. Shadows danced on the deck, growing longer, more menacing, as if the ship itself was alive, breathing in time with the whispers that filled the air. Sleep evaded him, and when he dared to close his eyes, nightmares consumed him, visions of the ship's past, of the betrayal that had led to its doom, of sailors fighting against one another in a frenzy of greed and desperation. One fateful evening, as he navigated through the thickening fog, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they formed words that clawed at his mind. "You are one of us now," they taunted. "You cannot escape your fate." Panic surged within him as he gripped the wheel tighter, the ship swaying unnaturally beneath him, as though sensing his rising fear. Then, from the mist, he saw it, another ship, gliding silently through the water, its silhouette familiar yet grotesque. It was another ghost ship, adorned with tattered sails that mirrored his own, its deck populated by shadowy figures, their hollow eyes locking onto his with predatory hunger. The sight sent shivers down his spine. It was a warning and a challenge. They were reaching out, beckoning him to join them, promising a dark communion of souls bound by eternal suffering. Desperation clawed at his throat, and he fought against the magnetic pull that urged him to draw closer. The spectral crew on the other ship began to chant, a mournful melody that resonated with the depths of his being, drawing out the very essence of his soul. He felt the allure of their promises, a chance to escape the burden he carried, to give in to the darkness that whispered sweetly of power and freedom. With each passing moment, the boundary between his will and the ship's curse began to blur. He could feel the shadows reaching for him, caressing his skin with icy fingers, beckoning him to relinquish his fight. Yet, within the depths of his heart, a flicker of defiance ignited. "I will not surrender," he growled, his voice barely a whisper against the rising storm. The crew's chant faltered for a moment, and the spectres recoiled, as if stung by his determination. Summoning all the strength he had left, he focused on the wheel, channeling the pain of the lost souls into a desperate plea for liberation. The ship shuddered violently, and the fog began to part, revealing a hauntingly beautiful scene, a ghostly harbour, where ethereal lights danced upon the water, beckoning like will-o', the wisps. But he recognized the danger. It was a trap, designed to ensnare him and lead him into an eternal nightmare. As he fought against the ship's siren call, the crew's faces morphed into grotesque masks of rage. The spectre from earlier materialized before him, its form twisting into something more sinister, a grotesque amalgamation of despair and fury. "You cannot escape," it shrieked, its voice a cacophony of the damned. "You belong to us. You have awakened the curse, and now it will consume you." With every ounce of willpower, he turned the ship away from the harbour, but the shadows lashed out, wrapping around him like chains, pulling him back toward the depths. The galleon thrashed against the encroaching darkness, and the mist thickened, turning into a swirling vortex that threatened to engulf him entirely. He could hear the cries of the damned rising in a mournful crescendo, a symphony of despair that sought to drown him in its sorrow. In a final act of desperation, he closed his eyes and reached deep within, calling forth the memories of his life, the laughter of friends, the warmth of a loved one's embrace, the beauty of the sun rising over the horizon. Each memory served as an anchor, grounding him against the rising tide of despair. With a primal scream, he broke free from the shadow's grasp, thrusting the ship forward into the heart of the storm. The galleon roared to life beneath him, the winds howling in a frenzy as it surged through the mist, breaking through the darkness like a beacon of light. The ghostly figures screamed in rage, their forms twisting and distorting as the ship surged forward, leaving them behind. The vortex began to collapse, dragging the remnants of the ghost ship down into the depths, its cursed legacy threatening to be forgotten in the wake of his defiance. But as the storm began to dissipate, he realized with dread that the cost of his freedom was steep. The galleon surged toward the horizon, but behind him, the whispers had not faded. They now echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder that he could never truly escape. The faces of the lost lingered in his thoughts, their sorrow entwining with his own, a constant reminder that he was now part of their tale, forever cursed to carry their burden. As the sun broke through the fog, illuminating the vast expanse of ocean, he understood that the darkness would always be a part of him. The ghost ship may have sunk beneath the waves, but its legacy lived on in his heart. He had escaped its grasp, yet he would forever sail the waters, a guardian of its secrets, haunted by the whispers of the lost, waiting for the next unwitting souls to lure into the depths, the darkness forever watching, forever hungry. As dawn broke, the young man stood at the helm, the light casting a soft glow over the water, transforming the once menacing waves into a shimmering expanse of hope. Yet, despite the beauty surrounding him, a chill settled in his bones. The whispers of the lost echoed in his mind, persistent and unyielding, a haunting symphony that accompanied his every thought. He knew he was free from the ship, but freedom had come at a grave cost, his very essence now intertwined with the souls that had perished aboard. With a heavy heart, he gazed back at the fading mist where the ghost ship had sunk, its dark silhouette swallowed by the ocean's depths. Memories of their anguish pressed against his consciousness, the faces of the lost flickering like candle flames in the wind. He understood now that he was both a savior and a warden, destined to wander these waters as a keeper of their tales, forever vigilant against the dark pull of the cursed. As he navigated through the calm, he spotted a distant sail on the horizon, the glint of sunlight catching the edges of a new vessel. A shiver coursed through him. He felt the familiar tug of fate drawing him closer, the whispers intensifying as they recognized potential prey. "No," he murmured, clenching the wheel. Not this time, but even as he spoke, he felt the shadows shift around him, the dark allure whispering promises of power and belonging. Determined, he steered his ship away from the approaching vessel, each heartbeat echoing with the urgency of his choice. The horizon stretched out before him, a vast expanse of both peril and possibility. The whispers faded into a low murmur, intertwining with the sound of the waves. He would not let them claim another soul. He would be the guardian, the one who warned others of the lurking darkness. As the sun climbed higher, casting warmth over the water, he felt a flicker of hope. The journey ahead would not be easy, but he was ready. With the wind at his back and the horizon before him, he set sail, a solitary figure against the vast sea, forever haunted yet resolute. The darkness would always linger, but he would remain vigilant, a steadfast sentinel on the waters, ensuring that the tragic legacy of the ghost ship would never ensnare another unwitting soul. And so, he sailed onward, the whispers now a solemn promise, a reminder of the past, and a vow to protect the living from the insatiable hunger of the sea.